My dog brought home a wallet, and what I found inside changed everything. That sentence still sounds like the tagline for some feel-good movie, but I swear it really happened, and it rearranged the map of my family history. I'm Lena Cortez, 31, elementary art teacher, hopeless plant collector, and devoted mother to one chaotic golden retriever named Bean. It began on a normal spring afternoon, when the world seemed determined to behave itself. The air smelled of damp grass and neighborhood barbecue, the sort of peace that tricks you into thinking life has run out of surprises. I'd left the back gate cracked open while repotting a fern. Bean, sensing opportunity, darted through it with her usual hurricane enthusiasm. 10 minutes later, she trotted back proudly carrying something leathery and unfamiliar in her mouth. At first, I assumed she'd retrieved someone's glove. Then I saw the rectangular shape, the little metal zipper, and thought, oh great, she's stolen someone's wallet. Fantastic. I'm raising a felon. I crouched to retrieve it, scolding her gently. Bean, we've talked about this. We do not commit petty theft after breakfast. She wagged her tail, utterly unrepentant. The wallet was old, cracked brown leather, damp from dog slobber but sturdy. There was no clear ID window, which struck me as odd. Most wallets display their owners like trophies. Inside were crisp bills, 3 20s folded neatly, an expired library card, and a small photograph wedged in the zipper compartment. That photo is what detonated my afternoon. A young woman barely older than 20, smiling shyly at the camera, holding a baby with my exact eyes. I froze. Not similar eyes, not a distant cousin maybe. My eyes, the pale gray ring around the iris that Mom used to call storm glass. I pulled the photo closer, heart beating too fast. The woman's face was unfamiliar, yet ghostly recognizable, like I'd seen her in dreams. On the back, someone had written in faded ink, "From Eileenie, may you find us someday, M." Leenie, my childhood nickname, used only by my mother until she died in a car accident when I was 6. But the handwriting wasn't hers. It slanted differently, swooped where Mom's was neat. And the M? My mother's name was Alice. I sank onto the steps, wallet open on my knees, Bean panting happily beside me, oblivious that she'd just turned my sense of reality inside out. I took inventory. Library card from our town's branch issued to Marisol R. Last name smudged. A dry cleaning receipt dated nearly 30 years earlier. No driver's license. No credit cards. The bills looked newer. Someone had added them recently. My brain sprinted through theories. Bean had found a stranger's lost property. Or maybe one of those weird art projects where people plant mysterious objects. But the odds of a random wallet containing a photo of me as a baby? It felt absurdly personal. By evening, I had the wallet sealed in a plastic bag like crime scene evidence and had texted my Aunt Rosa, the only surviving relative from my mom's side. Her reply came fast. Come by tomorrow, bring it. Short, urgent, very Rosa. Sleep refused to cooperate that night. I kept replaying half memories. Shadowy figures visiting when I was little, conversations ending the minute I entered the room. Mom tucking envelopes into drawers I wasn't allowed to open. When I was 9, I'd once asked Aunt Rosa if we had other family. She'd said, "They're gone, mija," in a tone that didn't invite follow-up questions. And next morning, I drove across town, humming with nerves. Bean stuck her head out of the passenger window, as if she, too, needed fresh air to process the mystery she'd unearthed. Aunt Rosa lived in the same floral wallpapered house she'd shared with Uncle Carlos before he passed. When she opened the door and saw the plastic bag in my hand, her face drained of color. "Where did you get that?" she asked, voice almost a whisper. "Bean found it at the park," I said. "Do you know it?" Instead of answering, she guided me inside, locking the door behind us, as though the wallet might sprout legs and bolt. She peeled open the bag, lifted the wallet with trembling fingers, and stared at the photo for a long, silent minute. Then she sank onto the couch. "Oh, Dios mío," she murmured. "I thought this was gone forever." "Who is she?" I asked. She looked up, eyes wet. "Your mother's sister, Marisol. The one we told you died before you were born." My brain refused to compute those words. Mom didn't have a sister. You never. "She begged me to keep it quiet," Aunt Rosa said. "Marisol left home when she was 18, before your mother met your father. There was trouble, family fights, then she disappeared. We thought she was gone for good. But that picture." She touched the baby's face, my face. "She must have seen you after you were born. How could she have this photo?" I whispered. "Who took it?" Aunt Rosa pinched the bridge of her nose. "Your mother did. She must have given it to Marisol before everything happened." The room tilted slightly, as though air had thickened. "So you're saying my mother lied?" "She protected you," she said gently. "There were reasons, but if this showed up now—" Her voice trailed off as she turned the wallet upside down, emptying its contents onto the coffee table. Out slid a folded paper I hadn't noticed, a brittle envelope sealed with tape. On the front, again in that same looping script, it read, "To Lena, when you're grown enough to search." My heart thudded once, hard. Inside the envelope, something rustled faintly, like more paper, perhaps even another photograph. Aunt Rosa looked at me. "Do you want me to open it, or do you?" I couldn't speak, only nodded that I would. My fingers fumbled at the tape, pulse roaring in my ears. Whatever story my family had sealed away decades ago was about to be unpacked in my aunt's quiet living room, all because one mischievous golden retriever went treasure hunting in the park. But halfway through lifting that flap, Aunt Rosa stopped me, eyes wide, not at the envelope itself, but at where Bean now stood, wagging furiously at the front window. Outside, a car had pulled into the driveway. A woman was stepping out, gray-streaked hair glinting in the sunlight, carrying another identical worn wallet. Aunt Rosa's hand tightened on my arm. "Lena," she whispered, "I think that's Marisol." And that's where the real unraveling began. I froze with the envelope half opened in my hand, glue crackling under my thumb. Aunt Rosa hadn't moved either. She was staring out the window, lips parted. Outside, the woman, this possible ghost named Marisol, was approaching the front door like someone long rehearsing the journey. Bean barked once, tail wagging out a rhythm that cut through the stunned quiet. When the knock came, it was strangely gentle. 3 considerate taps, more question than demand. Aunt Rosa whispered, "Stay here," and went to answer. I followed anyway, unable to stop myself. The woman looked up as the door opened. Up close, she could almost be Mom if time had fast-forwarded differently. The same bone structure, the same dark eyes. She took in Aunt Rosa's face, then mine, and a tremor crossed her expression. Guilt, relief, disbelief, all braided together. "Rosa," she breathed. "And Lena?" Hearing my name in her mouth felt like déjà vu. My heart stopped pretending this was coincidence. Aunt Rosa gripped the doorframe. "You're supposed to be dead," she whispered. "So I've been told," Marisol said softly, a wry flicker of irony under the sorrow. Everything blurred after that for a second. They pulled each other into an awkward, tear-stiff hug, half apology, half astonishment. I stood there, clutching the wallet like proof of sanity. Finally, Aunt Rosa turned. "This is your niece," she said, voice trembling. "Your sister's daughter." Marisol smiled at me, tentative. "I know. I used to hold you." My throat tightened. "How? You disappeared before the family decided I was the problem." She cut in gently. "May I come in? We should all sit before gravity gives up." We moved to the living room. She perched on the edge of the couch, a guest in the home that once erased her name. Up close, she looked like someone pieced back together after a long fall. Scars beneath foundation, eyes bright and cautious. "I never wanted to vanish," she began. "Your mother and I fought because of me leaving school. and because of the man I was seeing. He wasn't who he said he was. When things turned violent, she helped me get away. Your aunt thought we could fix it quietly, but when I didn't come back, they assumed the worst. I let them think so. Safety meant invisibility then. She told me you were gone, Aunt Rosa said, voice small. Every time I asked, she'd say, it's better that way. Marisol nodded. She was protecting both of us. I stayed away so the man wouldn't find you, or her. When I heard about the crash, I thought I'd lost my chance to make amends. I've carried that grief through 3 states and 20 years. Pause. I found the courage to ask, so why now? How did Bean even get your wallet? She smiled faintly at the name. I moved back a few towns away. I'd been walking the park trail your mother loved. The wallet must have fallen out of my coat. Quite the courier you have. She reached over to scratch Bean's ear. Bean leaned into her hand as though she'd already decided everything was safe again. And the envelope? I asked, turning it so she could see. Her eyes widened. You found it? It was inside the wallet. That envelope was for you, she said, voice tightening. Your mother asked me to write it in case. She didn't like to think of dying early, but she also didn't like leaving questions. My fingers shook as I finally opened it. Inside was a single sheet of stationery, edges yellowed from years of hiding. In calm, elegant handwriting, my mother's this time, was a letter addressed to my brave girl, Leanie. I read aloud because my hands wouldn't stop trembling enough to keep it silent. If you ever find this, you're old enough to know life isn't about perfection. It's about survival. When you were born, your Aunt Marisol wasn't dead. She was hiding, and I helped her. Don't be angry with Rosa for the stories we told. They were the safest truths we could manage. If the world brings her back to you, forgive her first. She loved you from afar. The rest blurred into a mother's blessing, advice about art, kindness, and courage. When I finished, no one spoke. The letter felt like sunlight burning through fog. For the first time, the silence in our family history had words. Marisol cleared her throat. I've replayed this meeting in my mind for decades. It never looked like this, dog slobber and all. I laughed wetly, the sound breaking the tension. Bean has good taste in mysteries. We spent hours filling the wreckage of missing years. Marisol had moved west, changed her name, worked in shelters for women escaping danger. The life my mother's secrecy had bought her. She pulled from her bag a small pendant, 2 silver leaves, 1 bent. Your mother gave me its twin, she said, pressing it into my palm. Now the pair can find each other again. By nightfall, Aunt Rosa was smiling more than crying. I walked Marisol to her car, streetlights haloing the mist. She turned before getting in. You look so much like her, she said. You even hold guilt the same way, like it's a precious thing. Try to let that go sooner than we did. I promised to try. When the taillights disappeared, I stood there feeling the ground tilt and settle into a new orbit. Bean nudged my knee, expecting gratitude in treat form. You have no idea what you've done, I told her. Then again, maybe she did. She looked far too smug for a creature who still barked at mailboxes. That night, alone in the quiet hum of my apartment, I pinned the photo of baby me and young Marisol onto my corkboard beside one of Mom and Aunt Rosa. 3 women separated by silence, now accidentally rethreaded by a dog's adventure. But before sleep claimed me, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, ending with 347. Lena, there's something else from your mother you should see. Please meet me tomorrow. M. And just like that, the mystery my dog started wasn't finished yet. When the message came through, I sat there staring at my phone as though it had spoken out loud. After everything that had unfolded, the letter, the reunion, I'd convinced myself the story had finally landed in gentle closure. Now a text threatened to spin it open again. I barely slept. Morning light found me still awake, Bean curled at my feet, both of us startled each time a car door shut outside. At 8 sharp, I drove to the cafe Marisol suggested. The place smelled of espresso and honey. Soft jazz buzzed under the clink of cups. She was already there, wrapped in a gray sweater, a manila envelope resting on the table between two coffees. When she saw me, she smiled apologetically. "You came, thank you. I wasn't sure if I should." "I wasn't sure if I should ask," she admitted, fingers tracing the cup rim. "But I found something in my storage trunk after I saw you, something your mother hid there before I left. I think she wanted you to have it after you read her letter." She slid the envelope over like delicate cargo. Inside lay a small notebook the size of a wallet, bound in faded blue fabric. On the first page was a sketch of two little girls holding hands beneath a mango tree. Mom and Marisol as children, according to the caption below. Next pages spilled into fragments, recipes, doodles, unfinished poems. And at the back, an entry dated just weeks before my mother's accident. Asking a simple question: if Lena ever grows up curious, as she will, I hope she learns compassion is the one inheritance worth fighting for. Secrets are heavy. They bruise everyone who carries them. Tell her that her mother and aunt were only human, and that being human is messy and still okay. I closed the notebook slowly, vision blurring. "She really thought ahead," I whispered. "And?" Marisol nodded. "Your mom always said stories heal bigger wounds than apologies." I lived years thinking she died angry at me. Reading this, I see she left room for forgiveness. We talked for hours, moving from old memories to new possibility. How she'd worked with local charities, how Aunt Rosa already wanted to host Sunday lunches like before, but louder. There was laughter edged with disbelief. Two women learning to fit themselves back into family vocabulary after decades apart. Before we parted, she said quietly, "You don't owe me a relationship, Lena, just the truth between us." "You brought half of it back to me," I replied. "That's more than enough." Outside, the air smelled of rain waiting its turn. Marisol hugged me, brief and firm, then walked away carrying nothing but her coffee. I sat in my car noticing how strange peace can feel. Light, almost empty after so much heaviness. At home, I placed the blue notebook beside the photo Bean had rescued days ago. The three sisters, my mother, her hidden twin story, and me entwined between them. The table looked like an altar of unintended archaeology. Bean nosed my knee, tail sweeping dust off forgiveness. Later, when Aunt Rosa arrived with fried plantains and all her usual noise, I told her everything. She cried, laughed, then claimed custody of half the photos. "We're rebuilding the family photo album," she declared. "Bean can curate." That evening, as I walked Bean on the same trail where she'd found the wallet, the first fireflies blinked alive. The park smelled of wet leaves and brief miracles. I realized that every version of loss, the death we believed, the years stolen by silence, had collapsed into this one improbable truth. Sometimes what's gone only feels gone because no one went looking with enough stubborn love or, apparently, a determined retriever's nose. I stopped under a streetlight, holding the collar of my ridiculous, miraculous dog. "Good work, detective," I murmured. She wagged as if taking full credit. When we got home, I wrote a final note and tucked it inside the blue notebook, for whoever might find it decades from now. If you ever stumble on this family's story, know that the secret wasn't the tragedy. The secret was the love that kept trying to find its way back. I closed the cover, set it beside the old wallet, and turned off the lamp. The room glowed softly, with the kind of peace you don't hunt for. It simply arrives, panting happily at your door, carrying everything you didn't know you'd lost until it found you.